Okay. We're going to call the February 21st meeting to order. Roll call.
Here, Mr. Vacula. Here, Mr. Murray.
Here.
Mr. Miller.
Here.
Mrs. Keeper.
Here, this time we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice. Okay, at this time, is there any board members who desire to add, delete, or separate any items of the consent agenda as proposed? No? All right, I need a motion to approve the meeting agenda as presented for the regular board meeting on February 21st of 2023.
We'll move. Support.
Roll call?
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Vacula.
Yes.
Mr. Murray.
Yes.
Mr. Miller.
Yes.
Mrs. Keeper.
Yes, motion carries. I need a motion to approve the minutes of the organizational meeting and the regular board meeting held on January 9th of 2023.
So moved.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Smith. Yes. Mr. Vacula.
Yes.
Mr. Murray.
Yes.
Mr. Miller.
Yes.
Mrs. Keeper.
Yes, motion carries. Are there any board members with correspondence? No? Mr. Carroll? Mr. Smola?
No.
Mr. Smola?
We have another guest with us today. I said, just please introduce yourself. Your name?
Matt Valentine.
Mindy Valentine,
Tony Doble.
Angela Conklin, Jenny Conrad,
Austin Pines.
Daniel Johnson.
Corey Cannon. Oh, Angus Woman.
Brady Cannon.
Gabe Schwab.
Pug Robinson, Lily Herb, Ariana Shaw, Maddie Chesky, Kelly Ward,
Brady Rupert. Jim Gopowski. Lucas Berkowitz. Michael Wheeler.
Jessica Jones, Owen McGusky, Reagan Regal, Owen Kelsey Ford, Daniela Gansky, Karen Salazar, Amber Noble,
Bruce Campbell.
Adam Smith.
Sherry Brown, Jessica Root, Dr. Dolores Ford.
Devin Ward. Jared Hoffman.
Thank you, everyone. Is that everybody back there? Okay. Seeing that we have no one registered to address the board, we will continue on with Mr. Carroll's financial report.
Thank you. On the stack of papers that we have are our monthly reports for you for January. Our cash reconciliation showing that our books are balanced with the bank. We have our financial summary, which shows our appropriations by fund. We have our cash summary. This is the balance in each account. We have our disbursement summary. These are the checks that we've issued through the month for the month of January. The first graph that you have is our income tax collection. This is our third of 4 payments. And we are up slightly for this year. We still have one more and will be made in April. So we are looking good on our income tax for this year. The next graph is the general fund graph, which shows our revenue and expenses for the year. At the end of January, we are 58% of the way through our fiscal year. And on the back, you'll see this broken down into payroll and benefits. And we have spent 59% of our payroll budget and 59% of our benefits budget. So everything is on track and looking good for this year so far. A couple other things that you'll see on this agenda. We have a couple increases and decreases for appropriations. Most of these are for grants. Occasionally, the state will take a couple funds away from us, so you see 2 decreases. So just amongst reallocations, we lost a little bit of money on 2 of our grants, and the other ones are just a slight increase in budget. Might mean more revenue has come in, so we need to increase the budget a little bit. And then in section D there, those are actual new grants, so those need to be approved as well. To point out the increase to 599-9023 of $250,000. That is an additional safety grant funds that we did receive. First, we received $50,000, and then we were also awarded another $250,000. And you'll hear more about that coming up soon. And just to touch base on 2 other things that I told you I would update you with. The auditor of state has some new rules coming out. It's supposed to be out by the end of January. We have not received those yet. And then also I have not heard anything on pipeline as well, so just to keep you up to date. That's all I have.
Any questions, Mr. Carroll?
I don't see any discussion in here. Who was involved in getting the grant for $250,000?
So that would be
Dr.
Dr.
Schwein.
Dr. Blanford.
Congratulations. That's a monster.
All right. At this time, we'll move into approving the financial report that we just went over with Mr. Carroll, as well as accepting the following donation of $100 anonymous donation to the Student Assistance Fund. We approve the following appropriations, modifications, and to amend resources accordingly. Those are the ones Mr. Carroll just explained to us, as well as approving the following grant modification, modified appropriations and amend resources accordingly for the Title III for $160.63. For the ARP homeless for $19,284.03. For the career awareness and exploration for $8,152.14. This time, I just need a motion to approve the financial reports and other financial items.
So moved.
Questions or discussion? All right, roll call.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Beckett?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mrs. Keeper?
Yes, motion carried. We'll move on to the personnel. We need a motion to approve FMLA leave of absence for Mrs. Kim Reckner, elementary teacher, effective January 2nd through March 24th of 2023. We have an additional unpaid leave of absence for Mr. Tony Williams, bus driver, effective February 5th through May 26th of 2023. We need to add the following individual to the approved district substitute list pending the completion of any and all certification requirements and background check. Lainey Chase. We need to rescind offer supplemental contracts and approve volunteers. We have Evan Kirshner. We need to rescind the weight room for a half contract. Joe Blystone, weight room supervisor for a fourth supplemental contract. Benton Miller, JV baseball coach. Shane Kinney, 7th, 8th track coach, and Dylan Henricks, volunteer baseball coach. At this time, I just need a motion to approve the above personnel position.
So moved. Support.
All right, any questions or discussion? I had a question with Dylan Hendricks as volunteer baseball coach. Dylan's doing a great job with what he's doing. Do we feel he has sufficient time? Is he just working along with Mark?
He's helping out as needed. He
Okay,
knows the time commitment and the expectations of athletic director wants to be approved so he can give a hand when needed.
okay, that's
Got
good.
it.
Track season and everything else, he's a busy guy then, so.
If he wouldn't be there every practice, Matt, just on an as needed basis and to support the team.
Okay, awesome. Any further questions? All right, roll call.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Beckett?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mrs. Keeper?
Yes, motion carries. We'll move into other business. We need a motion to authorize the membership in the Ohio High School Athletic Association for the Evergreen High School and Evergreen Middle School for the 23-24 school year. The board agrees to conduct Evergreen's athletic programs in accordance with the Constitution, bylaws, regulations, interpretations, and decisions of the OHSAA.
So moved.
Support.
Questions or discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Beckett?
Yeah.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mrs. Keeper?
Yes, motion carried. This time we need a motion for the Evergreen Local Board of Education to amend its service agreement with Mercy Health, St. Vincent Medical Center, LLC, approved on March 21st of 2022 to provide athletic training services provided by certified athletic trainers. This agreement shall be modified to increase service expectation from 30 hours per week to 40 hours per week at a prorated revised rate of $20,000 for the 22 through 23 school year, $20,000 for the 23 to 24 school year, and $22,000 for the 24-25 school year.
So moved.
Support.
Questions or discussion?
What was the need for the increase?
Santana was going to leave to take a 40-hour position, so there's been a lot of movement in trainers and everyone wants 40 hours and increase their compensation. So we were fearful if we didn't bump that up, not only were we gonna lose him, we were gonna have a hard time keeping the next one that was assigned to us.
Gotcha.
So that keeps him with us. Everyone's very happy with the services he's providing.
Thank you.
Minimal cost, in my opinion, to keep a good person here.
All right, roll call.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Vacuum?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mrs. Keeper?
Yes, motion carries. We need a motion to authorize the Evergreen Board of Education to advertise and receive bids for the purchase of one or more 72 passenger school buses. The Evergreen Board of Education wishes to participate and authorize the Ohio School Council to advertise and receive bids on behalf of said board as per the specifications submitted for the cooperative purchase of one or more 72 passenger school buses.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Questions or discussion?
We looking at diesel or propane?
I think we're split right now, we're half and half. The new ones that we're getting soon are diesel. So we might go propane or diesel.
I know talking to Jeff, he would prefer to get another set of diesel because there's a new motor in the propane. They'd like to give them 1 to 2 years to make sure they're not having issues with them. And we are split, so it's not putting us out of balance significantly by whichever one we would go with.
Alright, we're looking at just one right now, what we're looking at.
Depending on what the bids come back at, we have historically always budgeted for 2. Just kind of depends what those bids come back at.
Thank you.
We did hear, we did not receive the ones we should have gotten November, December that we bought a year ago. The timeline is, what did they say, 18 to 24 months for new orders. So that's why we got this on here, even though we haven't received the old one.
So basically, we're looking at those for summer. 18
Yes.
months after order, correct, 18 to or more, so summer, best case scenario. Okay,
Correct.
Roll call?
Mr. Smith?
yes.
Mr. Vacuum?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mrs. Keeper?
Yes, motion carried. This time we need a motion to approve an overnight trip for the Evergreen varsity softball team to participate in the previous I cannot spit it out right. Yes, thank you. Invitational at Wellington Community Park in Wellington, Ohio. The team will compete against others from throughout the state. The team will depart on April 28th, 2023 and return on April 29th, 2023. They will stay at the Courtyard by Marriott and be transported by parent volunteers or school transportation. Coach Slotowski, Haley Sen, Kylie Raker, and Matt Keller will be the trip supervisors.
Support.
Questions or discussion?
How many games are you play?
Coaches are good.
We play up to 4, it depends, 3 for sure. Typically, we play 1 on Friday and then 2 on Saturday. If they can fit us in an extra game, then we, depend on the weather, we usually accept it. So we could play 2 on Friday or 3 on Saturday, something like that, but 3 for sure we're gonna do. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, roll call?
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Vacuum?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mrs. Keeper?
Yes, motion carried. We need a
Thank you.
motion. You're welcome. We need a motion to approve an overnight trip for the Evergreen FFA students to attend the Ohio FFA State Convention at the Ohio State Fairgrounds in Columbus, Ohio. Students will learn about agricultural topics, leadership, communication, public speaking. Students will depart on May 3rd, 2023 and return on May 5th, 2023. Parents and FFA alumni member drivers in the school van, if needed, will transport students to the convention. Teacher Alexis Powell and parent chaperones will be the trip supervisors.
So moved. Support.
Questions?
Any idea how many kids are going? Do they have an idea on that yet, or is that still?
23 and
25,
Thank you.
There's been more trips for FFA this year than, that's awesome.
And I will say she's even raising the expectation, you gotta have C's, good grades, attendance, and discipline, so. There's higher expectations as well.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Vacuum?
Yeah.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yeah.
Mrs. Keeper?
Yes, motion carries. At this time, Mr. Small, would you like to take over discussion and information?
Yeah, just wanted to see if the board is interested in moving the June meeting we have scheduled on the tentative calendar we put out for June 19th. That is the Juneteenth holiday, so I didn't know if the board was interested in moving it to the following Monday, which would be June 26th, to avoid the holiday. I know that gives Mr. Carroll an extra week to kind of wrap up end of the year. We've got plenty of time, just looking, we either should move it to the 20th or the 26th, I think, to avoid the holiday, but that is your decision.
Does anybody have a preference over the 20th to the 25th or the 26th?
Either one's fine with me,
26.
26th is better for you, does that work for you?
yeah.
Okay, so June 25th.
I will adjust our calendar and make sure that's part of the district calendar, so everyone knows that it has been moved. Next item, we have been discussing the potential move of the 5th grade to the middle school for some time. Put out kind of a, I don't know if it's a fact sheet, but just some information. We've discussed it a long time, wanted to refresh everyone on the what, why, the motivation, additional opportunities for the kids is always the why. We began looking at this again about a year and a half ago. We were looking at space concerns at the elementary, enrollment imbalance between the buildings, program opportunities and limitations at the elementary based on age discrepancy of the students. Same thing then at the middle school. What can we offer and the age differences, and then fulfilling strategic plan objectives and strategies. That move touches on 3 of the strategic goals. Not going to go through the benefits, those have been put out. Some of the obstacles we looked at, 4 sections per grade level, increases the average class size in the middle school from what it currently is. We do see that maturity gap between, the 5th and 8th grade. We would have to account for that. Lunchroom has limited space. It would make it tight during the lunches. We would plan on opening up that cafeteria again. The idea of recess, we do not have equipment or a specific location for that yet. Encore teachers would have an additional prep, and there's the potential for increased discipline with more students in the middle school. Organizing the students in the building, if we did it either by the grade level cohorts or by subject area departments, there's the potential for teacher movement in the middle school. One thing that would need to happen, we would need to renovate the media center with furniture and equipment. Estimated cost to do that would be about $20,000. We do have funds in our wellness grant that would allow us to pay for that. Need to address that indoor-outdoor activities and equipment to provide that downtime for the kids so they got that break in their day. We would have to plan for that. Staffing, ideally, we would need to hire an additional gifted intervention specialist to serve those students. We have heard, since I've been here, that there's a need for that gifted services in the middle school. So an additional staff member would be required to provide that service to grades 5 through 8. A lot of the estimated cost of that for a teacher, we put in, salary and benefits estimated $75,000. A lot of planning would still need to be done. Mr. Burkholder has looked into many of the areas and has kind of formulated a plan for what committees would need to take place. I'd like to invite him up he's also done some research he'd like to share with you, from talking to other administrators and teachers who are on the middle school plan of a 5 to 8 building. So, Mr. Burkholder.
So just to highlight a few things that I've been doing or thinking about working on here. I spent the last about month or so interviewing right now 12 different either administrators or educators from other districts that either work in a 5-8 building, worked in a 5-8 building, or were part of the transition of bringing a 5th grade up to a middle school. I currently have a number of interviews yet to conduct. I'm hoping by the end of the month to have those completely done. So by about March 1, I can present you guys with a summary report. Some of the findings that I found are a little surprising for me. It's actually made it so a number of things I was thinking would be necessary might not be. It's also put a few things on my radar that originally weren't there. So there've been good interviews so far. One thing I have formulated is the 6 committees that I want to be using. If it gets board approved, how we can move forward to make sure we're planning this properly and getting everything prepared at least to the best we possibly can for year 1. So you see I've listed there the 6 different committees. First and foremost, we start out with the scheduling committee. That's kind of the base or the foundation of what we'd be doing moving forward. That would start right away as soon as we get board approval. That would meet just regularly until we finalize what that schedule would look like for our 5th and 6th grade group. Other committees that I think would be appropriate would be a 5th and 6th grade team committee. That would be a year long, since we have the time now, the 18 months ahead of us. a fifth grade team and the sixth grade team meeting regularly, to basically determine what best practices are gonna be needed to support those two age groups. Two other subcommittees I think would be really helpful and important as far as planning goes is to have an event and club planning committee. That's one thing I've heard from community members is there's some really cool things or things they like in the fifth grade that they don't want to lose coming up here. And there's things I feel like we could add for the sixth grade. So that would be a committee that would come together and determine what are those extra activities that you offer that seventh and eighth grade has a lot of sports or other clubs that you don't have quite yet in the fifth and sixth grade. We currently have our row system that we implement. We have implemented in the middle school. We're kind of expanding upon that. So there'd be a committee that would hopefully address what the needs of a fifth and sixth grade row system versus having the seventh and eighth grade, having a two-house system in our building. Of course, we'd have a special ed committee. I think that's really important to understand the needs for fifth grade special ed coming to our building and make sure we address all those. And then the last thing is I call it activities period. It would really be determined as far as, recess time, downtime, activities period, whatever you want to call it, how much time we need, what is the equipment we need, what type of activities we provided then. That's actually one of the areas I've done research. I've gotten quite a bit of surprising feedback as far as what other districts do, and how they organize that. So that will make sure that's covered really thoroughly in the report. Just to piggyback on that a little bit real quick here. The one thing I've kind of got to be exposed to as we went through this for the last few months now is that the pros and the cons really aren't changing from what I can tell. For me, what I can tell is that we don't all value the pros and the cons the same way. What one person sees as a pro, maybe somebody else doesn't see as much of a pro. What one sees as a con is a huge con to them, but not somebody else. I guess ultimately that's what we're asking the board to do is to value these pros and cons, what you see appropriately for our community. Personally, there's probably nobody here that's gonna benefit more from you guys voting no. Less work for me, less problems for me, less headaches for me all the way around, less committees. But if you were to ask me my opinion now that I've spent the time researching and talking to other building administrators, talking to other teachers that have gone through it, as much more work as it is for me, I would vote yes, that there's a better experience we can offer fifth graders at our district. So if anybody wants to talk to me or have any conversations about the research, I'd be happy to do so.
Mr. Burkholder, I have a quick question for you before you step down.
Sure.
You said you interviewed a number of people from other districts, just so I guess we and the people who are listening have an understanding, what schools in the area use the 5th through 8 model?
In our league, we have Archibald, who's been in it since the 90s. Delta does, Swanton does, Liberty Center does, Patrick Henry does. Wasion and Bryan do not. Wasion has a 3rd, 4th, 5th grade.
So those are much bigger schools.
Correct.
Yeah, so that's a little different. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Do any of them have like a 5th, 6th grade wing? Like where they're separated from the 7th and 8th?
So there's a variation to it. Not every building does it the same way. Kind of the overall theme most of the buildings kind of follow is they're all on the same schedule, 5 through 8, as far as like a period schedule. Many of them do have their areas divided up, whether it's an upstairs or downstairs or one wing or another wing, where they try to have the 5th and 6th grade predominantly. So there's not as much hallway interaction. Not every district does it that way though. There's a couple of them that actually do it by department. So they have all the math in one area, all the PE, all the ELA, all those different, and those who have it that way actually rave about it. They think it's very beneficial to have all the math teachers 5 through 8 in one area. So I guess each building has their way of doing it, and all of them have their pros and cons as well. So.
Thank you, Mr. Burkholder.
Thank you. Any other questions on?
Well, for me to vote on this, and you got some pricing down there, I'm not totally against it. I'm not against it. But I don't want to vote on it and then figure out how it's gonna happen. This is me. I would like to see a framework plan. You know, how we can do the classrooms at least. Because we got the media center, but how's everything else gonna be done? Biggest thing is I want to see what it's gonna cost us. You know, cafeteria. Me personally, I don't want to vote on it until I see how it's gonna happen. So it's gonna cause more work Like, I think the committee should be doing it now and then bring it to us. That's how I think it should be.
I'm generally okay with more information, but I mean, to some extent, we gotta go play a little bit while we buy it. I mean, we're not gonna have them undertake all that effort.
No, that's fine. I'm just, for me to vote on it,
Okay,
I wanna say, I'm not speaking for you guys. I wanna see how it's gonna happen, ultimatum, the money. I wanna see what's gonna cost.
well, right, but I mean, just so we can understand, like, what do we need that, so if we got 20 grand for the media center, you wanna see. the
Well, if we
line
gotta
items.
put work in that cafeteria, the kitchens,
Sure.
pretty much
So
got it.
you wanna see what it's gonna cost for the cafeteria.
Yeah, I mean, we got a levy coming up too.
Sure.
So, Matt and I have met with fifth grade team, sixth grade team, and we've talked to every administrator. I'm with Matt. I am not comfortable voting yes on this, until I see more framework, more layout. This is not, just, this is, you know, it's been compared to me multiple times, as moving from the block schedule to traditional schedule. To me, that was paperwork, a lot of work for administrators and teachers, but we had a plan to fall back on that we did before. If we move multiple children, teachers place the different rooms, building layout, there's a lot more to this than I think 18 months can handle. I would like to see the vote pushed back even from March. And like to see some committee work. The teachers I've talked to have felt that starting committee work now, is not, you know, it's not putting them out of place. They'd rather see answers in place. And I'd like it to be a positive move so that we have, I felt if I voted yes right now, we're gonna hit road bumps, we're gonna catch things, but if we work at it and we go into it positively, those aren't gonna be as big of bumps, those aren't gonna be as big of learning curves if we go in positively and we're not just saying, let's just do this. So for me, I wanna see more before I can vote yes on this. Again, I'm not totally against it at all. I'm just a planner before I jump onto something, and I don't have answers that I'm comfortable with yet. For both my teachers or families in the community. So that's where I am at right now.
I think the move from block to traditional was a lot bigger move. It affected 400 kids and all our teachers in the high school and everyone who goes through.
Well, we had a backup plan. We could pull that, change the bell schedule by a flip of a switch, and you have
I
a
don't
plan.
think it works quite that simply. When's the last time you worked through scheduling with your kids? It's not
Right
like you
now,
just go,
Sam.
it's not, you just don't go, well, we're not gonna do any of this, we're gonna do this. I don't
Right
think
now,
it's quite
Sam.
that simple.
And my student doesn't just go to high school. She goes to college as well. So I'm balancing high school and college and on this schedule. So which totally clearly don't work the same. So I get it, but at the same time, we had a backup plan. If you move kids down there, were we just gonna throw them back down there after we rearrange two buildings?
I mean, I would like to see more details as well, but at the same time, quite honestly, I have full faith in our administrators to pull this off without a hitch. I have full faith in all of them and our teachers. And I think our students are more than mature enough to make that step.
I feel like our administrators and our teachers are as well, but I feel like to have them confident and to have it to be positive, I think we need more answers before
Well,
I
let
vote
me,
yes.
let me ask this then. That's fine. I mean, we've been talking about this since last year,
Mhm.
okay? I'm not in favor of open-ended, let's just wait and see. So if you want more information before we can vote on it, because
Yeah.
I want to vote on it before the end of the year.
And I'm fine with before the end of the school
So-
year.
That's fine. So let's set a time frame then.
Yes.
So we're not kicking this out. So
No, I would
is
like to
it-
set a
is
time
the
frame.
April meeting gonna be good enough for a vote? Is the May meeting gonna be good enough for a vote? That's what
I think.
Well, if we set it to the information we get.
Exactly.
Well,
What we might need to do is charge our administrators with saying, these are the loopholes we see. Can you give us answers for that? Instead of just saying, come up with answers, we may
And
want to
I-
come up with the questions.
I feel like the administrators I've talked to, they know what my questions are and they already are looking at them. But I'm fine by May, but like Matt said, it's gonna depend on what kind of what you're giving me. I don't want a paragraph of we've met and we didn't get anywhere. Well, I'm still not gonna vote May then. You know, I wanna see some legwork done on this before I'm okay to vote.
I'm not against it. I just wanna see. And I wanna see some more information. And if I got to, I'll fill it out and I'll bring it in. what I want to see. All right,
I understand administratively, what we're looking for is a commitment that we have a plan and you're saying there's not a fallback. If it's not ready and it's not gonna be successful, we wouldn't do it. We're not going, I would not put on there a vote to, this has gotta happen this year, but a commitment of with planning done, a viable plan that works. We don't want it to set, we would never set it up to fail and put kids in a position. If that wasn't ready to move them over successfully, we wouldn't do it. Administratively, that makes no sense.
I have asked that question straightforward and that's a different answer than I got. I was told it will work.
It's gonna work.
If it fizzles out, okay, but we don't want it just to work, we want it to be good.
Right, and I understand that, and I'm fine, I mean, we get more information, but I wanna make sure, I mean, we are the Board of Education, we are elected, we have all this information that we have gathered.
You have all these parents.
I understand, but we're not running this by Twitter, right? I mean, at the same time, so we have to be responsible and make the decision ultimately. And I'm fine with more information, and I'm fine with more information, but we need to have a timetable for when we're going to vote on it.
And I'm fine with the timetable.
Okay.
But at the same time, I want information. I just don't wanna be, we didn't get anywhere. That's not information.
I think that's being.
But if
de
we're
minimis.
looking at a committee and they have multiple things, they say they met for a half hour to an hour and we didn't get anywhere.
But in fairness to the administration, we've gotten a lot more than we met.
No, exactly, we should have.
So we have a lot of information now, and there's a few items that we need to get more information on. And so we can, as a board, craft what that information is and then provide.
Have you talked to teachers? Cause there's a lot more than a few items that need to be taken care of.
The teachers have a union contract. There is a process by which they can engage with the administration. I'm not.
And they
gonna
have been working well.
And I expect that. I have full faith in our staff, but I'm not gonna go out and pull individual teachers because that's not our responsibility. Our responsibility is the overall health of the school. We've looked at information and have made a determination, at least preliminarily, if this seems like a good idea. If there's more information that we as a board need to buttress that decision, I'm fine to get it, but I don't think there's any benefit in running up a Twitter poll here.
That's
Giving
not
the
what I'm
information,
doing.
And I'm not suggesting that it
And I
is.
do want everybody to know, I
Alright.
have a child in this race. Mine will go to sixth grade if I like it or not next year. But I want this to be right for every child.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, but that's a little misleading, quite honestly, for every child, because for the last, at least as long as my kids have been in the school here, we have not had a gifted intervention specialist in the middle
we have
school.
not.
I know, so what we're doing is we're adding one, which is actually doing a better service to our advanced children in the middle school. Because what we've done for the last, I don't know, 10 or 12 years is we have a gifted teacher in the elementary school. And then we throw them into the middle school without one. And basically we advance them just to stunt them. So, I mean, to try to do this for every child, I mean, quite honestly, in the middle school, we've been doing our students a disservice by not having a gifted teacher there.
I would agree that the gifted has lacked there. However, we have now added eighth graders can take high school classes. So we have tried to move that in the right direction. Are we there? No, I agree with you. We're not there. But
I know, I'm just saying it was a little misleading saying every student.
no, well,
I mean, quite honestly, we're never going to craft
I'm not gonna
school
make
that
everybody happy.
that does the best for every student. We're gonna try to do the best for the most students possible.
I know I'm not gonna make everybody happy, but I feel like right now with what I have, I can't make a decision that I'm comfortable with. So.
And that's fair enough. I mean, I certainly respect that. I mean, like I said, I'd like more answers as well. But we've been doing this for a year. We've been talking about it. And I think what our administrators are asking us is, you know, we've been talking about it for a year. Are we just gonna keep talking about it, or we're gonna do something? Because if we're not going to do something, I'm sure they got hundreds of other things to do. And then I'm sure this is all like Mr. Burkholder said, this is all more work for them. None of this is less work, and they're not doing it just for the fun of it. They think it's what's best for our kids, and the district, so. They're not just doing it for, you know, to find something to do.
But I think all the work can be done before we vote on it.
I think more work. I don't think all the work can be.
I think,
More
I
work,
think
I would say
more
more
work can
work.
be done before it's voted on.
And I'm fine with setting a timetable.
And I would like to ask all you guys individually, talk to the principal one-on-one to get their input.
Fine with that.
because I haven't talked to Mr. Burkholder yet, but I talked to the elementary. So I would like you guys to,
No, I've talked to the other two. I've talked to Mr. Reed and Mr. Bookholders.
but that's what I want, and I'll write everything down that I would like to see. It won't be the whole thing, but for me to vote on it, like I said, this is my feelings.
That would help giving us direction of exactly what you need.
It's not theirs. I mean, they can still be voted in, you know? Doesn't matter.
So I guess at this point, are you okay postponing the vote past March? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Let's see, I mean, cause you and I can make the agenda at any point, let's see what comes at March. If Matt and I are like, this is great, let's, you know, and everybody agrees, let's add it for April, cool. If not, I wouldn't go any later than May, I agree, I think it needs to be, but let's see what kind of things we can pull up, I'm just not comfortable at this point yet. Any other questions or things with the 5th grade move? No? All right, Mr. Roofer, your turn.
All right. Speaking of making decisions, what's best for kids, the high school is preparing for scheduling for next year. The kids are familiar with this, but I don't want to say instituted it because this is not new. It's actually been in our handbook since before I came. But it's a rule of 6, which states that all high school kids have to have 6 courses to be considered a full-time student. This better aligns us with OHSAA guidelines, funding, all that stuff. So I want to make clear that it's not new, but we're clarifying and setting higher expectations for our kids. So in short, every kid has to take 6 courses, at Evergreen. It can be between Evergreen, CCP, or work study. If they want to be a full-time CCP student, they can do that. We also have opportunity, because I know, getting out and working and getting that hands-on experience is important. We are starting a work study program for our seniors. This will actually give them credit other than just leaving early or coming in late. After talking to all the staff, and gathering input from other administrators, feel this is a better way to raise the bar for our kids, provide a better education. In general, I value what our teachers provide, what our kids experience here. I think it's gonna lead to better education, whether it's exposing them to something they might not have been exposed to, broaden their horizon. I just find value in education, and I just struggle with kids going home, only being here for 3 or 4 periods and going home and napping or playing video games. I just, quite frankly, we need to raise the bar for our kids. And going along with that, I think this better prepares them for life after high school. Kids have to learn, skills are like muscles. If we want them to get up and go to work on time, we've got to practice it. I expect our kids are gonna get up and be to school on time every day. They gotta do it the rest of their life. You can't just, I've heard from kids, well, I'll do that when I get older. But it's like a muscle. If you don't practice it and strengthen that, you're not gonna do well at it. We can see that in the world today. So waking up, being on time, working hard, even if it's something that doesn't interest you, studying, reading, writing, there are so many skills interacting with adults that I find value in, that our staff finds value in, that will improve the education of our kids and get them ready for life after high school. Finally, it's also has become quite a nightmare for tracking. We are now required to track attendance by hours and minutes. I can't stand up here and say confidently that we are doing that accurately for every kid. Because there's such a wide array of when kids are here and when they're not. Kids are coming in and out of the doors. That's a concern to me. So I know this is a little bit of a change. It's more of the enforcement of the policy. It's been in place, but enforcing it and setting clear expectations. I just want kids, staff, everyone know this wasn't something I just jumped into. Again, like Mr. Burkholder said, it can make it life a little easier for me to get kids out of the building, but I think this is what's best for kids. I've talked to area schools. They kind of looked at me like, what, you don't do this already? I actually kind of copied the policy from other schools, so I feel this is what's best for the kids, and we're going to move this way. So that was the main thing I wanted to address, because I know it may be a talking point out there, and I wanted you to be informed. But, so questions on anything else? I didn't go through details of the other stuff, but
Thank you, Mr. Rupert. Mr. Burkholder.
All right, I'll try to get this brief and spend enough time talking about my stuff tonight. Real quick, I want to recognize my people's champ for the month. Heather Christensen is an excellent teacher. She goes above and beyond for my building. She's always impressing me with her ability to help out and do extra things around the building that don't necessarily fall underneath your umbrella all the time. I'd like to thank Fort County Career Center. They had our kids out on January 19th and gave our kids a little bit of an expose as far as what's on that building. I had a lot of kids really excited to be out there and see what was out there when they came back. And thank the teachers, Mr. Steele, Mr. Marks, and Mrs. Brand who helped out on that trip. Just like to say, job well done to all our winter coaches and our winter athletes. They represented our district very well, specifically highlighted by the middle school wrestling team. If you haven't heard, they were the NWL champs this year. And we had 3 individual champs that we crowned, so I was very excited for those guys. We also had our 6th grade DARE graduation back on February 7th, so I want to thank Deputy Kathy and Deputy Zoom. They lead our program for us, and just having got to see the program and participate myself, including wearing the beer goggles and doing some of the activities, is a lot of fun for the kids. They enjoy the program, and it's very informative. I think we need to do more as far as informing the kids on a lot of things. I've actually been in communication with one of the Fulton County prosecutors and parole officers about another 6th grade program implemented on as far as social media and different substance abuse things to add into what we're already doing. I'd like to recognize 2 young people that represent Evergreen at Fulton County Spelling Bee. Orion Lambus, a 7th grader, and Carly Height, a 6th grader. They went a couple weeks back and they both placed 3rd for us in the league. So spell checker is needed. And then last Thursday, the high school hosted our 8th grade academic fair. The 8th graders get to go up and see what's offered at the high school, helps them make informed decisions as far as scheduling goes. So I'd like to thank the high school staff for putting that on for us and Mr. Rupert. I know it helps when you jump from building to building, know what's going on in the next building. So, and then last but not least, we participated Friday in an in-service. I'd like to thank Dr. Swineford for putting that on. Teacher feedback's really useful when it comes to PD. And I heard most positive comments I've heard on PD in a long time. So it's good PD.
Thanks, Mr. Burkholder. Mrs. Brown.
Good afternoon, everyone. We had our first STEAM night that went very well on February 2nd. We had a great turnout, lots and lots of help. I want to thank Mr. Rupert and Mr. Dislover for their help in recruiting high school students to help out at the different stations. Without them, we probably couldn't have managed the evening. So thank you, Mr. Rupert, for that. We also had John Mansell Plato partner with us to provide ideas and resources for our stations. And want to give a shout out to Ms. Root and Mrs. Urbanski for being part of that planning team. Very helpful, and I think our kids really loved it. So our father-daughter dance was a huge success. We had more than 300 dads and daughters come. So I want to thank MVP for putting that on. They did an excellent job putting everything together for us. We are now gearing up for kindergarten screening, which will take place April 11th through the 13th. It is a huge process. Our teachers have been amazing at getting together to create this process. It's not something where people just show up and we handle the situation. It is a very lengthy plan that we put in place to make sure that the day is successful and we get our students placed appropriately. Also, with regard to our 3rd grade guarantee, we had a data day last Monday with our 3rd grade teachers who met. We looked at all of the data to determine those students that were in need of the most help, so we can set up intervention services for them. They did a great job discussing and looking at all the needs. So we have that in place, and that began this week. Also want to give a shout out to our reading specialists, Mrs. Mossing and Mrs. Pickering, for helping with our tier 2 and tier 3 groups. That's where we take all of our students that are placed in tier 2 or tier 3, and we map out where they currently are by looking at their data to decide who is in most need of help, so we can get them the services that they need. It's a huge plan, lots of scheduling, and without their help, it would have taken much, much longer to accomplish. Also want to congratulate Kenna Dilly and Tobin Nicholas, our 2 students that represent Evergreen at the Fulton County Spelling Bee. And also a thank you to Ms. Ford for putting that all together. Again, without all these people helping out, all of these things just could not, they just couldn't happen as quickly as they do. So also we celebrated Karen Lipitsky, our school counselor, for all she does for National School Counselors Week. She is amazing. The services she provides for our students, our teachers. She is nonstop on the go. You can never find her in her office just sitting. And she's kind of like my right-hand person. We kind of tag team things, and she is amazing. So if you've never had a chance to meet her or get to know her, she's awesome, not only as a counselor, but to talk to as a person. We celebrate on Fridays, every Friday, Green and Gold Friday. And with the help of Mr. Roofer again and his high school students, they come over and they pass out suckers to all of our students wearing green and or gold or Evergreen shirts. And so because of that, we wanted to make sure all of our students had some type of Evergreen attire. So with the help of MVP, they have allowed us to order shirts for every single staff and student member in our building. We were hoping to do it by Christmas time. Unfortunately, that didn't happen due to funding and things like that. So we were able to put it together. Those shirts should be coming within the next week or 2. So every student will be receiving those. We'll have a building picture done with all of our kids just to show our pride. Again, I want to stress all of these things. There's no way it could take place without our staff to make it happen. They work hard and they love the process of teaching and learning. And that's what makes elementary a pretty amazing place to be. So. Anyone have any questions? Thank you, Mrs. Brown. Thank you. Campbell and Tiny. No one will go first.
Try to keep it short. Just have a few things. We as a district signed a contract with the Northern Buckeye Educational Committee Council and Data Serve to receive a phone upgrade district-wide. So we all got new phones over the Christmas break. We're also working with them to prepare for the new 911 requirements that are out there. We're preparing for state testing. We've got all the students in grades 3 through 12 uploaded into the data test or into the state testing site. So that the testing coordinators could get the rosters together and get the accommodations set for all those kids that need the special accommodations. We're preparing for next school year, getting new Chromebooks ordered for grades 3, 6, and 9. We went back to the Lenovo style Chromebooks versus the Dell for cost savings and availability. Once those new Chromebooks arrive, we'll have student aides in the media center to get those set up and ready for the students for next fall. We're getting dates set for Chromebook check-ins for all of our 4 through 12th graders. That information will be more information for that coming up. We're still going to have we're offering the senior graduates the option to keep their Chromebooks again this year, as long as they've met all of their graduation obligations. And they'll still turn their Chromebooks in at the end of the year so that we can get them out of inventory, get them cleaned up, get them ready to go. They'll be available to be picked up the first week in June. Anything that's not picked up before the end of June, they'll lose ownership on that. We'll just recycle those and we'll move on from there. We're also getting quotes prepared for interactive displays for elementary, high school, and middle school classrooms. So we're waiting on those yet. We're in an off-year cycle this year, so we won't be purchasing any new laptops for staff members. Next year, we'll be looking at replacing the intervention specialist laptops in part of our 5-year rotation. We also received some iPads back from Holy Trinity that were purchased with a grant several years back.
These are iPads that they're no longer using, that are out of date, but we're going to look at offering those to community members to be purchased at a low price come the end of the school year. So more to come with that. Tony and I have been working to make the transition for him easy to move into the director of technology position following my retirement. It's pretty much all like that. That's Bill.
I only have two things. First, with the new phone system, we had to move to an eFax because of new requirements, so we have the eFax in place, however, CenturyLink's not willing to port the old number over, at least currently. I am gonna do more digging on that to see if we can at least port the district fax number over so that we can start using a local number again, because our fax number is like a 740 number now. We've notified as many people via social media, and I think a lot of people are starting to get that new number because I've seen more and more faxes coming through, so. And then the only other thing I have, I don't know how much Brent talked to you guys about the camera in the gym, the new huddle camera, but we spent a few hours trying to get things to work on that. It wouldn't work. We reran wire. We did everything we thought we could think of. I had Milwaukee involved, and it turned out the camera was bad, so we spent all that time for nothing. They sent us a new camera, and Brent sent me a picture. Within like 5 minutes, it was up and running. So that huddle camera is up and ready to go for when we do start utilizing that instead of the older one, Pixel one.
Thanks, Tony. Mr. Simulon.
Just a couple items. Mr. Carroll and I are continuing the community conversations at local businesses that we began last fall. These are opportunities for community members to meet with us, ask questions in an informal setting. Our next two meetings are in March. The first is on March 8th at 9 a.m. at the Country Charm in Metamora. And then the second one is scheduled for March 23rd, 4 p.m. at Wolf It Down in Lyons. So again, that back before the levy, that's something we want to continue to engage with the community, provide an opportunity, an informal venue, and support local businesses. The other item I wanted to bring to your attention, we're in the process of evaluating Taher as our food service provider. We've met with the head cooks to hear their perspective. We've sent out a survey to students in grades 6 through 12 to get their feedback. Surveys are open until the end of the day tomorrow, so we'll see more when we total those up. Unfortunately, finances for the year are trending in the red. We're considering our options going forward. Student feedback will provide meaningful guidance as to if we need to go another direction based on what they say about the quality of food, the service, all of that. We have an annual contract with Taher that can be non-renewed at the end of the school year. Once we have that additional data, we can determine if we need to prepare a request for proposal to see what other providers can offer the district. So when we get the survey results and some of that information, I will share it with you next week. Survey closes on Wednesday.
Okay.
Also, we'll have a better picture of Mr. Carroll's helping me out with the finances of where they're trending and where we expect to be at the end of the year. But we are looking at that. Once we saw it is trending down, we need to look at what our options are to provide the best for the kids in low income. Any questions?
How many head cooks we got? Just in the elementary?
One in each building.
We don't have one for the middle school, right? Just
Correct.
the high school and elementary. Would that be an option going back to our own head cooks?
We do plan next year to open up the middle school kitchen and serve out of there, do the prep and cooking. The last year we used it, that's what we did. We transported the food down, had a server and a cashier in the middle school. So we would like to go back to that. Even next year, 6 through 8, not factoring in the 5th grade move. So I believe we need 2 warming tables that Taher was supposed to get us and hasn't, so. Any other questions?
All right, any board members with questions or concerns? All right, we're going to omit the executive session tonight. It's no longer necessary. So that can be omitted off the agenda. Do you need a vote on that, Mr. Carroll?
Um.
Let's just do it.
Okay,
Okay, so I just need a motion to omit the executive session off the agenda.
or
Roll call.
Mr. Smith,
We'll admit it, correct?
to omit, yes.
Okay, yes.
Mr. Backlitt,
Yes.
Mr. Murray,
Yes.
Mr. Miller, yes, Mrs. Beaver.
Yes, motion carries. So I need a motion to adjourn our February 22nd, 2023 regular meeting of the Evergreen Local Board of Education.
So moved.
Roll call.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Backlitt, Mr. Murray,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mrs. Beaver.
Yes, motion carries. At this time, please doing some paperwork for Mr. Blanchon. Can see Mr. You need to come up here